Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, What the Beck. Today I'm doing another plan with me, and this one is Pride themed again, even though it's not Pride Month anymore because I filmed this in advance. And I kind of did a little challenge with this video. I tried to make it so that I only used stickers from my Erin Condren planner because a lot of the time I forget they're back there, and there are a lot of really cool stickers and they're pretty functional as well, so I wanted to use those. And I also used some newspaper clippings from a newspaper I got in Delaware when I went on vacation earlier this year. So the title of this Plan With Me has told you already. I'm going to be telling some stories about my time in college. I've only been in college for 2 years, so I'll definitely be able to make another video like this maybe in another 2 years that talks about my experiences in those years, but I kind of picked out 5 pretty interesting stories and I'm going to share them with you now. So the first story that I have is actually the most recent. So one of my projects for a class I was in was to find something to do with the future of literature, and I had to make a big presentation on it. And so I chose to do accessibility in the form of like audiobooks and braille books and things like that. So one thing that I did to make a point was I took some sunglasses and I put post-it notes over them and I wrote blindness goggles on them. And the reason I did this was because during my presentation I had a sample of braille and I made my professor put on the blindness goggles and I handed him the braille sample and I said, "Can you please read this?" And of course he couldn't. And then he said, "I don't know how to read braille." And I said, "Oh yeah, well 90% of blind people also don't know how to read braille." And then everyone was like, "Oh, what the heck?" Because like that was a pretty clever way to like demonstrate that to the class, to like really get it across to them that even though you might have a braille book, it doesn't mean you can read them, because it's not as widely taught like to read braille than it is to read words. So this next story happened, I don't know what was up, like what we were doing, but there was like a huge group, like 6 people, all my friends, and we went to a Cracker Barrel for some reason. I don't think we ever went to one besides this, but we went to one and we were just sitting there waiting for our food. We didn't order a lot because we were like broke college kids, but you know, we were being patient and waiting for everyone. And there was this really rude guy sitting at the table next to us, and he kept complaining about the waitress and just being really like mean to her. And whenever she would come back, he would say, "Oh, well, that took long enough." And he was just generally being a doofus about it. And so we felt so bad for her, and luckily he left like 10 minutes before we were done eating. So we were able to kind of pull together about $20 worth of tips and write her a little note that says like, "Sorry you had to deal with that guy. He was a total D word." And then we gave her the tip and she was so like taken aback by it, and we're like, "Just don't worry about it," because like I think we even signed the little note as like a group of college kids who understands, because people were just really rude to like waitresses for some reason. So we just tried to make her day a little bit better, and I'm really proud of us for doing that. Speaking of restaurant shenanigans, there was a little trifecta, like 3 of us that would hang out all the time, and so we would sometimes stay up way too late, to the point where we lived in dorms, so the dining hall wasn't open anymore. The dining hall closes at like 8, and we were hungry and we didn't have food in our dorm, so what were we gonna do besides go to Chili's? And so there was a point in time where we went to Chili's about every night for like 3 weeks in a row before we were like, okay, we need to stop this, because we don't even like Chili's, we're just going because they're open late. And one of the other restaurants we went to was like a steak and fries place, but for some reason we called it the Flaming Corpse of God restaurant, and I have no idea where that came from, and I blame my one roommate because I'm 90% sure she came up with it, but we haven't gone there since we decided to stop going out late at night, and we're all on a better sleep schedule now. Another recent event that kind of happened at college was, obviously I have a job at school. I am a writing tutor for the writing center, and I have summer hours where I have to go and be there in person. So the first time that I went to the writing center, like over the summer to work, I was working my shift. It was fine. It went pretty well. And then I realized that it was 10 minutes later than I was supposed to be picked up by my roommate, and he wasn't there yet. So obviously I was a little bit panicked. I have anxiety, so my brain was going nuts trying to figure out, okay, did he have a heart attack and die? Is someone in the hospital right now? Of course, he was just in the shower, and it took him about another hour to come pick me up, but at least then I knew he was okay. And so after being worked up for about an hour because I'm thinking that he went to the hospital or something like that, it turned out that there was a group of some type of like police training force outside. There were two big groups of people, and they were all shouting and marching, and they were walking in the same direction that I was, and I was just very creeped out and overwhelmed by it. So after having all that anxiety about my roommate not picking me up, I was then having more anxiety from being overstimulated by the shouting and walking and stuff, and I couldn't get away from them, and overall that was not a very good day. But I went home, had a popsicle, and fell asleep, so I kind of recovered from it in that way. So my final story is arguably the most interesting one. I saved it for last because there was one night in my freshman year where, again, like a group of 5 people, all my friends, we all agreed, hey, we have extra energy. Let's go out into the middle of the baseball field and fight. And I have no idea who introduced this idea to us, but we essentially said, okay, break for 20 minutes, everyone go put on your fight outfit, as if we were in Smash or something, and then come back to the baseball field. And then we basically had a wrestling match in the grass at 1 in the morning, just because someone said we should, and no one really got hurt. I think the biggest casualty we had was someone lost a piece of jewelry, but they acted like it wasn't really a big deal. But of course I still felt bad about it anyway, but that's beside the point. So just imagine you're at school, you come home from work, maybe you work late or you're a on-campus police officer, and you just find 5 kids just wrestling each other and holding each other down to the ground with a bunch of other kids cheering around them. Yeah, that looks kind of weird. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed those stories, and if you want to hear more, I'm sure I could scrap some up and throw them into a video for you. But yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment on this video telling me something that you did in college, or maybe something recently that was pretty interesting that happened to you, and I will like and heart all of your comments. And if you want to see more of my videos, you can subscribe by clicking on this button in the middle of the screen, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!